This is a short video for parents and carers to offer some support and strategies for managing anxiety in children and young people. Compass Go is the mental health support team for North East Lincolnshire. We work in all the schools and colleges locally, offering advice, guidance and support for children and young people between the ages of 5 to 19. Our support is targeted early intervention support for common mental health and wellbeing difficulties based on the techniques of cognitive behaviour therapy. All the strategies and ideas in this video are based on this model. Humans have a range of emotions, and this is completely normal. It's important to have a variety of emotions and flexible responses to adapt to life. Anxiety is a normal emotion that we will all experience at times. It's a combination of physical sensations in the body, the way we think, and what we do. When we feel stressed, our bodies react by releasing hormones such as adrenaline or cortisol. And this is our body's way of detecting a potential threat and trying to protect us, also known as the fight, flight, or freeze response. This can be really helpful in motivating us to do something when we need to keep safe, such as when we're crossing the road, or even helping us to know that we need to revise for an exam or practice something that we're a bit nervous about. However, if this is happening too often and is triggered by situations such as meeting new people or going to new places, it can become problematic and can get in the way of living a healthy lifestyle and can increase avoidance of situations and build up to being a really quite difficult thing to manage. Sometimes children won't identify what they're feeling as anxiety and might need support to do so. You can help to normalize this by labeling normal emotions in yourself and then what you do about them to help yourself to feel better. Sometimes children can label these emotions as feeling unwell, such as feeling sick or tummy ache or headaches. Sometimes children will present differently, such as being upset easily or irritable easily. Sometimes you will notice children have changes to sleeping patterns or eating patterns. Sometimes you might notice a lot of questions, a lot of worried thoughts, a lot of what ifs. Being able to identify these things and normalize them is a really important first step. One of the things that we teach about in schools and colleges is the fight, flight, or freeze response, as I mentioned earlier. It's important to identify the changes in our body that can come along with this. Sometimes we'll notice our heart beats faster, our breathing quickens, we can feel shaky or hot. Sometimes we can notice we feel sick or have that butterfly feeling in our stomach. Sometimes it can make us need the toilet or even become red in the face. Noticing these things and knowing that it's a normal bodily reaction to an emotion is really important to be able to help children to identify them themselves and then to be able to take action. Your heart will beat faster to increase blood flow and oxygen flow to your muscles to get you ready to do something if you are in danger, whether you need to run away or fight or freeze in a situation. Your body will be preparing to do this. If the threat isn't really a threat, such as public speaking or meeting somebody new, all of this energy stays in your muscles, and that's why you can sometimes feel shaky and just feel a little bit stuck. If you know that your body has misinterpreted a threat and that the situation isn't actually dangerous, you're in a really good position to then start to take action to calm your body down and to regulate that emotion. And children might need support to identify this and to take action. Labeling this in yourself is a really good technique. So sometimes when I feel nervous, I get a butterfly feeling in my stomach. I know that if I take some deep breaths, it helps me to feel better. This helps people to understand that this is a normal bodily reaction and actually it's your body trying to keep you safe. So if you know that you don't need those things in the moment, then it can stop you from misinterpreting them. Misinterpreting a fast heartbeat or increased breathing rate, for instance, can sometimes result in panic attacks, and we don't want it to get to that stage. So identifying those things sooner, you can take action to try to support yourself. At the start of the video, I mentioned cognitive behaviour therapy, or CBT for short. This is the CBT cycle, and we can use this to reflect on children and young people's anxiety, as well as our own. We might notice a feeling such as worry or fear or anxiety, and it's really important to then reflect on what we are thinking at the time. what we are doing differently, and then how this all impacts on our physical sensations as well. All of these things will impact on each other and can become a negative, unhelpful cycle. So, with CBT, we tend to focus in on thoughts or behaviors or physical sensations to then try to have an impact on the feeling, because we can't just switch off a feeling. Anybody ever told you, don't worry about it? It didn't really help, did it? So, trying to reflect on how we think and what we're doing and how our body is reacting can really help us to break this negative, unhelpful cycle. It can also be helpful to reflect on your own CBT cycle around your child's anxieties or worries. So, for instance, if you have a child that's worried about going to the supermarket, for instance, and you spend all morning feeling quite anxious about that, or they're going to kick off, or they're not going to come, what if they cry, what if I can't get my shopping done, or this is so stressful, you start to sort of get a little bit wound up yourself and get a little bit intense emotion yourself, waiting for the anxiety to kick in with the child. So sometimes our own CBT cycles can then link into the child's CBT cycle. Children can pick up on your anxiety, and we can sometimes end up sort of spiraling together into a real tricky situation. So it's really good to reflect on what your thoughts are and what your behaviours are, and how they can also impact your child's thoughts, feelings, and behaviours as well, because anxiety can be catching, as we know. If you do notice that you're starting to feel anxious, it can be really good to label that feeling. I feel a bit nervous today, and then what you're going to do about it. Modeling effective emotional regulation to children is how they learn and how they develop their own regulation skills as well. So, if we look a bit more closely at thoughts, if our thoughts are negatively framed, if there is more of an overestimation of how bad it's going to be and an underestimation of how well I can cope with it, those thoughts are not going to be very helpful in this cycle, such as I can't do this, it will not go well, I can't cope, I'm going to get upset, I'm going to panic, I can't do this, I don't want to go. It becomes quite an intense thought pattern, which then links into the feelings, and it might make us behave differently, such as not wanting to go, getting upset, maybe withdrawing, being really quiet, clinging to just one friend. You can see the cycle in action. This is why it's so important to take time to notice our children's thoughts and have a discussion about them. Is there another way to look at that? What would you tell a friend if they had that thought? Is that a fact, or is that just a guess? If we can dig into those thoughts and sort of challenge them a little bit, we don't have to accept every thought that we have as a fact. And sometimes just trying to think about things a little bit differently can help to reassure and just remove that feeling a little bit, as well as those behaviors. If the behaviors are avoidant behaviors, I just won't go, I can't go, we don't take that child to that place because they can't cope. You can see how the cycle can be maintained by avoidance as well. Next time they're faced with the situation, the anxiety will just increase again, and we have another negative, unhelpful cycle as well. As a parent, it's your instinct to protect your child. And so, oftentimes, when a child has heightened anxiety in a situation, a parent might try to take over and protect the child from the feeling. So, either by supporting that avoidance and not taking them, or by, for instance, ordering for them in a restaurant if they're too anxious to do so, or doing things for them in situations, or removing them from situations where they feel anxious. What the evidence shows us is that the more effective method is to supportively encourage them to stay with the situation, notice the feeling, discuss the feeling, know that it will pass, because what we expect is that that feeling will just get worse and worse and worse and it's unmanageable. But actually, those stress levels, those cortisol hormones, those fight, flight, or freeze sort of triggers, they don't last infinitely. They do run out, and they will come down gradually. So the more times you are exposed to that situation, the situation you would usually try to avoid, the easier it will become. And the child can prove to themselves that they can cope, that they can do it. And then that builds up that internal praise, that internal capability that actually I can cope with this difficult situation. Now, sometimes that might need to be done gradually, bit by bit, step by step, start small. But if you continue and work hard and practice in situations that you would normally avoid, your brain will adapt to that and it will stop activating that fight, flight, or freeze response, and it will register that as a safe activity, a manageable activity, and something actually that I can cope with. So now we've explained a little bit of the science behind anxiety. Here are some ideas that you can try to co-regulate together with your child and help them to learn skills to manage anxiety. You can start by calming down those survival instincts. So, by connecting with your body and doing something physical, you can enable your body to regulate and to calm that difficult feeling that you get when you feel anxious, that whole body experience that we explained earlier. Practicing deep breathing skills is a really important first step. Oftentimes, people say about deep breathing, and it's just not slow enough. I would recommend breathing in for 4 seconds and out for 5 seconds. Having a pause in between those things, holding the breath at the beginning, at the end as well, can really just get that message back to your brain that I'm safe, that I don't need my survival instincts at the moment. And it'll be doing that deep breathing and practicing that consistently that will slow down your heart rate, regulate your breathing, lower your blood pressure, lower your temperature, and get your body back to rest and digest mode, which is where we want it to be. It could be that doing something physical can help as well, going for a walk or throwing a ball, but actually connecting, being close, maybe a hug might help as well. So channeling into your body and what you can do physically to calm those survival instincts down in the first instance. Next, it can be helpful to focus in on your thoughts, but with specific attention to the present moment, what's happening right now, instead of worrying about what might happen in the future or dwelling on something that happened in the past and overthinking. It can be helpful to focus in on the present moment. Doing activities that channel into your five senses can be really helpful to distract our mind from racing thoughts and remind our brain that the present moment is a safe space. Trying to notice different things that you can see, whether that be different colours or shapes, focusing in on the things that you can hear, different textures, what you can smell, and what you can taste, whether you need to find things or whether you can just notice what's already there. Anything that is like this is a mindful activity. So focusing in on something specifically on purpose, just trying to move your mind to where you want it to be at that moment can be really helpful to calm those unhelpful thoughts. Once you've targeted the physical sensations in your body and calmed down those sensations and targeted some of those thoughts, you can then engage the logical part of your brain by doing something that you're good at together, doing something that you enjoy, maybe writing down or drawing out, colouring in a journal or a book, just can help to engage that part of your brain. Some young people may find it easier to talk while they are doing another activity as well, as they don't have to sit down, don't have to make extended eye contact. It makes awkward silences a little bit more comfortable. And having something practical to do with hands can make it easier for some people to think and reflect as well. Lastly, I'd like you to remember that, like any new skill, it takes time to practice recognizing and calming down big feelings. It will need to be consistent application of the skills, it will need to be regular use of the ideas and strategies that I've talked about today, and also practicing them when you don't need them. When you're already feeling calm, practicing those breathing skills. Practicing those mindful skills, practicing reflecting on your thoughts and your behaviors when you don't really need to, so that when you are feeling heightened emotions, it becomes easier. So, supporting your child to do that regularly, noticing those emotions, noticing those thoughts and feelings becomes easier and easier. Children and young people might need help to identify what they're feeling. They might need suggestions such as, you look like you feel a little worried, am I right? Or that person over there looks a little bit anxious. Have you ever felt like that? Reflecting and talking about that regularly can help to build up those opportunities to talk and connect. One of the biggest things that you can do as a parent is to offer those opportunities for children, young people to open up. It's one of the easiest things that you can do to support their well-being. And sometimes it's easy to forget that the simple power of sharing what we're going through and feeling heard, even though you might not be able to fix it, even though they might not want you to offer an idea or a suggestion, but making them feel seen and understood in itself can help to make feelings easier to manage. Talking about how their day's been, what's been on their mind, making that an everyday part of family life shows that you're interested in how they feel, and it supports them to practice thinking and talking about their feelings as well, and then being able to know how to get their needs met for themselves as they get older. It's really normal to worry that you might say the wrong thing or you don't know what to say when young people do open up about their feelings. But it's really, really the most important thing is to offer the opportunity to talk. They might not want you to have any answers, they might just want you to listen. Here are some ideas of things that can be helpful. So make sure to validate their feelings. So it's understandable that you feel that way. You know, lots of people would feel that way. I would feel that way if I was in the same situation. So normalizing emotions, it's okay to have that feeling. Thank them for sharing and encourage them to open up to you. Let them know that you love them, you're always there for them, and they can always talk to you. Ask them if there is anything that they would like you to do. They might tell you, or they might just want you to listen. Spend time together thinking about what could have built up to the feeling. Could it be school, family, friendships? Could it be a combination or something else? Let them know that there are online support services available as well, such as helplines and websites. They might find it easier to open up anonymously. Make sure they know who to speak to at home and at school as well. It might be somebody else that they feel comfortable to open up to. And remind them that this feeling, like any feeling and any situation, is temporary. Things will change and things won't last forever. And conversations can be more effective once a young person has had time to calm down. Trying to have discussions at the height of distress are probably not going to end well. So making sure to time it right. I'll come back when you're feeling ready to talk, and just letting them know that you are going to make sure that you offer that opportunity to talk regularly. We've added here some images of books and stories that can be helpful to start conversations and help to develop that language of emotion with younger children. There's also a parent guide there in the pink, which is a Kathy Creswell book, and that is based on the model of CBT as well. And there's lots of resources on the website We Heart CBT too. Here are some ideas for older children and teenagers. There is parent sort of focused books such as The Amazing Teenage Brain, but there's also lots of resources and information on the Young Minds website and the Anna Freud website, as well as other further webinars on the Navigo CAMS website. And Kooth is an online counselling support service for young people as well, which is self-referral and it's free to access. So different support there again for older young people. For young people who are age 14 and over, we also have Silver Cloud, which is an online CBT platform with packages such as Space from Anxiety, as well as other useful packages of support. The young person can self-refer, or you can contact us to make a referral, and they can access that whenever they want to, and they would have access to it long term, as well as accessing a supporter as they work through the package directly. So that's an online platform with really helpful additional skills and strategies for those that are age 14 and over. It's just as important that adults look after their emotional well-being too. There is that phrase, you can't pour from an empty cup. So make sure you are looking after yourself as well as trying to support your children with their emotional well-being. And there are lots of services available locally that offer support for adults with emotional well-being and other issues too. So please do get in touch if you do need any help with signposting to any of these services. Thank you for listening. This video has been recorded to give parents and carers some ideas and strategies to manage children and young people's anxiety. It won't be a one-size-fits-all approach. Every child and every family is different. If you do want to discuss this further, please do get in touch with us to discuss. Thank you.